This is the guy I was talking about the other day who have the mental health and that. So Birmingham knife attacks. Mum criticising astonishing failings after missed opportunities to identify son's killer. Zephaniah mcLeod stabbed Jacob Billington to death in September 2020 during a series of attacks on victims he chose at random in Birmingham Centre. Four opportunities was missed by the authorities to better understand the risks posed by a violent and mentally ill man before he was released from prison and went on to carry out a fatal knife attack. A report has found Zephaniah mcLeod stabbed Jacob Billington, 23, to death in September 2020 during a series of attacks on victims he chose at random in the early hours of the morning in Birmingham City Centre. He stabbed 7 other people, causing a series of life-changing injuries. Mr. Billington's mother has blamed the astonishing failings and incompetence, saying prison and probation and mental health services completely failed the public in their duty to keep us safe. Joe Billington said all the agencies knew about the offender. They knew he was dangerous and violent, that he didn't comply with the medication, he had made multiple threats to hurt people, and in the end he carried out those threats. 8 innocent people have had their lives changed forever. I have never seen what Jacob would have become. He died due to a catalogue of errors and poor practices, and this I simply can't forgive. mcLeod not subject to any form of supervision after prison release. An independent investigation commissioned by the NHS has found that 5 months before carrying out the attacks, mcLeod, who has paranoid schizophrenia and a long history of violent offences, was released from HMP back in South Wales on his sentence end date, was not subject to any form of supervision, nor was he obligated to engage with agencies such as the police if they were to offer him any support. If details how prior to that, mcLeod had told a number of professionals over several years that he could hear voices. So, yeah. It was also known that he had a history of refusing to take medication. In 2018, he had a person look that he was hearing voices, a psychotherapist that he was hearing voices, both male and female, telling him to kill him and stab him. See, this is him. They are talking about you. Following his release from the prison in April 2020, there was no record of where he had gone. By July, he was deemed to be lost to the services. He contacted a GP in August 2020 and a non-urgent referral was made to the Birmingham and Shoal Mental Health NHS. He was offered an appointment on September the 3rd. After mcLeod refused to attend, a new date was set for 24th of September. By then, he had carried out attack. mcLeod sentenced to life. He was sentenced to life with a minimum term of 21 years at Birmingham Crown Court in 2021 after attempting the manslaughter of Jacob Billington, 4 counts of attempted murder and 3 counts of wounding. The reports outlined contact mcLeod had with the authorities from the time he was first known to the police and the criminal justice in 2007, when he received caution at the age of 14. Between 2011 and 2020, he spent most of his time in prison for the string of violent offences. During that time, he was not appropriately treated and medicated. 5 recommendations have been made to improve the services, including a call for Birmingham and the Mental Health Foundation Trust to develop an up-to-date operational policy covering prison discharge services. It is also recommended that the West Midlands Multi-Agency Public Protection Arrangements Statistic Management Board reconsiders this decision not to complete a serious case review, which the reports and author said be an opportunity to look in more detail at the issues it raised. So Anne, whose son Michael suffered life-changing injuries in attack, and surely it is the government's job to protect the public, which I said it was weird how they let him out. So 2 people suffered attack. Let me see. I believe this incident was clearly predictable and preventable. It has devastated the lives of 8 people, and all of those who care for them. Jacob and Michael are seemingly terrible statistics to those who resource the system. These are not missed opportunities. Mr. Billington said, "We are told about missed opportunities. These are not missed opportunities. These are people not doing their job, and these are procedures not being followed, and a catastrophic lack of professional standards leading to a young man losing his life." The report, in my opinion, has some very weak recommendations that fail to get to the heart of what went wrong here. Different organisations not seeking or sharing information as they are required to do, and procedures, working practices not being followed. So this is him walking through.
A lot of blood from the neck.
Is he breathing and conscious?
Not really, he's losing consciousness.
And what's happened there?
There was a man walking, and then next to him there was blood everywhere. He was stabbed in the neck.
We just got a knock on the door from the police in the very early hours. We're sorry to tell you that there's been an incident in Birmingham and Jacob's passed away.
That's what we can do!
Just over 24 hours after he brought fear to the streets of Birmingham,
Walk downstairs!
Zephaniah mcLeod was arrested by armed police.
That's the only back.
He'd gone out in the early hours armed with a knife and chose 8 victims at random. The first man he stabbed managed to run away. 20 minutes later, he struck again. After stabbing a 3rd victim, he put his knife down a drain and took a taxi 4 miles home. But there, he rearmed himself and headed back to the city centre. His next victims were best friends Jacob Billington and Michael Callahan.
There were just no words to kind of describe the kind of sadness that I felt. Like, sadness doesn't even do it justice. This is someone who I've shared my life with. It was just unthinkable. I think if anyone's got kids here, it's like your worst nightmare.
Jacob's friend Michael survived the attack, but only just. He lost so much blood he had a stroke. Doctors had to remove part of his skull to relieve pressure. He's had to relearn to walk, determined to see his attacker sentenced.
Not answered any questions. He's not talked about it. We don't know anything about why he did what he did. How can anybody say he's safe again? I don't think anybody can.
The court has heard mcLeod was suffering with severe mental illness. These weren't his first offences. He'd been in prison before.
He wasn't under any licence conditions and actively being managed, so he'd come back out having served his sentence.
But Jacob's family believe mistakes were made.
This was somebody well known to lots of different agencies in many different sectors, and yet still it appears that he was in a position where he did this. The fact that he didn't appear to have been monitored in the way that you would imagine he would, as somebody who was known to be dangerous and had a long previous history of being dangerous.
A serious case review is now looking at whether these attacks, the terrible injuries, and Jacob's death could all have been prevented.
Just not having him around doesn't feel real. I feel like he's away at university, and I can just message him, or I can give him a call and he'll answer. He was fun, cheeky, full of life, full of happiness. He was an absolutely fantastic young man.